Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hyams here with Bob Stewart, and we got a special guest for you today. I can't wait to get to that. But Bob, how are you doing, my friend?
I want to talk to this special guest. I'm fascinated by AI. Marketing is something that we've always kind of dabbled in, Chad, right? I think if you're in business at some point, you do some marketing, right? But yep. AI to me is just absolutely fascinating. The ways that it's going to unfold around marketing, around a lot of the things that we do in our world over the next, this is really, it's accelerating, right? Like the pace of this AI stuff and people's optimization and utilization of it in business is, so I'm excited to have our guest here. Should we just get
Yeah, and you and I, through our history, lead generation is something that's always been important to us, to be capturing business. Social media, you and I used to be people that they used to come to say, what should we do when it comes to social media?
Back when we were young and hip and cool, yes. And now like TikTok's out, and I don't even have a TikTok. I'm not going to lie to you. I wait till it comes on Instagram Reels. I think that's what adults do, right?
I don't even get to the Reels. I just need it on Instagram, right? We're the get off our lawn guys now when it comes to it. So I'm interested to hear what's coming on. Yeah, Bob, I want to just kind of throw this weird thing at you. Conquistador. Do you know what a conquistador actually is?
Man, Yeah, a conqueror of some sort. The Spanish, is this who the Spanish sent over to conquer the New World? I'm not sure.
Conquer the Americans. So I don't know whether this is good or not, because, the conqueror of the Americas is a conquistador. Because when we spoke to our guest just before we started, I said, how do you like to be called? Is it Tom or is it Thomas? And he said, well, I like to be referred to as, El Conquistador. So that's who he is. To us, he will always be El Conquistador. And I'd like to welcome to the podcast, Thomas El Conquistador to us. So Thomas, welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate that. You could go with one other podcast I do have called The Sexy Voice Guy. It's nice, baby. It's a real thing. Google it. But El Conquistador is the funniest thing you can do at Chick-fil-A, because they do have to repeat your name, and they will do it. And so it's kind of fun if you go to
and have to write it on cups and things like that at times. Which
it's fun. It's just it's a good, solid, I don't know.
All right. It was an icebreaker for us to have a conversation at the beginning. Really, Thomas, it's Thomas Helfrich, and he is known as the AI nerd, which is what Bob was kind of hinting at the beginning here. Tom, I don't like doing bios. Our audience knows that. I want you to introduce yourself. Let our audience know who you are, what it is you want to share about yourself, and what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. First of all, thanks for letting me join the show. It's quite the honor. And I love the vibe of the show too. So it's so much fun to hear you guys talk. But listen, Thomas Helfrich, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. It's high, flyby. I used to say Concorde flyby. That certainly dates yourself now. So like drone flyby maybe, or I don't know. But I'm born out of .com time, though I was definitely remember myself being a better developer than I was. So, but I've always talked really well about technology, and really in particular about how it kind of impacts business. That took me on this consultative path with KPMGs, Accentures of the world. In the last 10 years, I've really developed an expertise around intelligent automation. And that's where you take the right technology, right human in the right moment to automate as much of a process as you can. And from my point of view, keep the human accelerated, keep the human-led piece of it. And some of those technologies are AI and analytics and other pieces. And a few years ago then, through this career of mine, I kind of noticed this giant problem in marketing that it was massively inefficient. Tons of marketing spend in corporations, and they take more time, measuring everything and then focusing on what the results should be. And I thought this seems like a really good candidate for intelligent automation, or at least the principles of it. So I started a company called Instantly Relevant, and on that journey of just apply those principles and applying, experts, technology, automation, AI, whatever have you, to get better outcomes for customers. And the idea is that a customer doesn't care about marketing; they care about leads. So we focus on finding them the opportunities to get new customers.
Man, there's like a million different paths to go at this point, Chad.
Your ADD energy, right, baby? How do you want to go?
Yeah. Can you just talk maybe off the top about AI in general? Chat GPT is this thing that's kind of massively on the scene now, right? Real estate agents are one of the first maybe industries that's starting to adopt this to write their property descriptions when they take a new listing. A lot of our audience is real estate, and that's kind of the industry that we've come out of. Just in general, AI, where does it live today? What is your feelings on how close it's getting to being able to, what do they call it? Become salient or something, where they actually it believes it's a real human.
Sentient is the word.
Yeah, sorry. Salient.
I wouldn't know the word. Salient sounds fine to me.
I don't know. But like, just give me a general sense of somebody that's kind of been aware of this for much longer than maybe most of us have been. Like, where does it live today, and how much of an impact are we going to see? And is it accelerating like it feels like it is?
You're absolutely, you're spot on that. So AI being artificial intelligence there are systems of computing that can do advanced work. It can do, and I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. It has a learning component where the machine or the computer systems can learn from interactions without human interaction with it. They typically need to be trained by humans in large data sets, and AI typically does really well when it's a narrow use case. So something deep and narrow. So from like reading radiology reports or describing, let's say, like a property or something like that. Like this, the more narrow and deep it is, the better the data could be used, and the better it trains the model for the AI. As regards to Chat GPT, one of the hardest names to say it quickly, is we've been using, so that's from OpenAI. We've been using that beta, the access for well over 2.5 years now. So it's not that new to us. But what they've done with it, which is a good use case, is they've created a more generalized version where you can get pseudocode to build an app. You can write content, you can write headlines, you can do descriptions, you can write a story, poems, whatever. What's interesting about it is how easy they made to do it as in conversation. And that's been a big breakthrough in the new models with DaVinci 3.5 models. And as it advances, it's going to get better and better. But it is something you should definitely be using in your marketing, but you still need to be human led. The most impactful stuff is going to be human led because you need the creativity, you need to infuse your brand in it, your company's culture, your kind of beliefs into it. But it is an accelerator that is very powerful, but human led for sure.
And that's where I want to dive in right there, Thomas, on that human led comment that you bring up. I think there's people out there who think, oh my God, the robots are taking over, right? It's Hal has woken up again or something along those lines. And then there's people on the other end who think, oh good, I don't have to do a dang thing because I've got this computer and it's going to do everything for me now. Talk to us about that human-led piece, because as I went on the website, as soon as you mentioned it, instantly relevant.com, the first thing I saw jumps up, says trust opens the door, relevance closes the deal. I don't know that I trust a computer.
Well, you could, but I wouldn't. I mean, the idea of like can't let a car drive around by itself with no one in control, I think we've kind of said that's cool and novel, but as long as there's other people driving their own cars, probably not the best thing. So we still have human led. You've seen the technology already come back from, hey, fully automated to, yeah, well, just kind of keep it from you from dozing off for a minute, right? And and trust does it. So people buy from who they know, like, and trust, and they can get to know you pretty well. They can like you for whatever reason, but if they don't trust you, they don't really pull the trigger to go buy from you. And to buy from you, that you do that through some executive eminence, which is kind of like your personal brand image, your thought leadership, your authority on the matter. You do it through other people's word of mouth, customer testimonials, industry reviews, whatever it is, and they do it from interactions with you or with your content, what have you. And so if you're not taking your content and making sure it's on point to your belief system or your system of whatever you do at your company or your personal offerings in business specifically, they won't build the trust factor. It won't. Right now, there's a big difference between people could do and what they can do now with GPT, but that's going to go away. That's just going to raise the bar what everyone's doing. So the premium at stake still is creativity and original thought. And we can get into why that'll matter with Google maybe in search, but that's still going to be the premium. And it's going to be how to use those technologies to get the people who are creative and can stay on brand and do all these things to work faster. That takes experts. That takes humans that know how to use technology correctly to get the most out of those who have the high value skills around them.
All right. So people don't go into hiding, think the computer's taking over, or don't go into hiding thinking the computer's going to do your job for you and you're just going to wake up and collect a check on something. Human interaction is required. Is there somewhere that I might not even realize it because the AI is that good that I've been talking to a computer?
Right in this moment, I'm actually an AI.
Well played.
No,
I mean, I know I go to some websites that I'm looking for some information and I know it's a computer. Like it'll tell me, hi, I'm the bot. I'm here to attempt to answer and move you in the right direction. Yet are there places that commonly are using it that most of us don't even realize it's a computer on the other end?
Not right now. I don't. I'll tell you that. There's some that to me it's always obvious, so it's hard for me to say that's good. I'd say that your best example right now and why it's unpopular is the Chat GPT. You talk to it and you wouldn't know that a human's not really. You'd only know because the speed of which it can reply. So that's a good example of it. But for the most part, I mean, there's other ones out there where it's really effective is when, like, let's say an agent on the other end of a line who's talking to you or is in a chat is replying to you or talking to you, but has tons of data that's coming up because an AI is pulling things based on the conversation. It wouldn't, the Turing test, so to speak, is not. That's where it's really effective. But I honestly think ChatGPT is probably the best example that people would know of like general. It's not general intelligence, but just of an AI being able to reply with elegance.
So like that example where you're saying you've got a customer service rep or something that's able to potentially have better experiences and cover more of the customer base because the AI is behind the scenes serving up the right data to them is kind of a human overlay on. I mean, it's basically to your point of it still needs to be human led, but in the background it's got this AI that's maybe serving up to that person the data they would need to go solve that customer's problems and allow them to potentially solve more customers' problems because they have easier access to the data and they can move through the customers faster, right? But it still has that human layer on it.
When it comes to human interaction with AI and how they're doing explainability of models and things, I think that it's very important to remember you have to have explainability, traceability, and fairness built in the models.
Okay.
And there's been examples of like lending institutions that didn't provide the same lines of credit or level availability of credit to different race groups, and that was the only differentiator factor. Now, those models are built by humans who are leveraging data that could have been then influenced by maybe not nefarious behaviors, but influence behaviors or data.
But even the data itself, if humans were the ones putting that into practice 5 years ago, and now we're sucking a bunch of data up based on things that humans were influencing 5 years ago, that data is skewed in some way potentially.
Exactly, and so this is the problem with content now. So let me take it back to the GPT example. I haven't seen a whole lot of traceability and explainability and fairness in how they're creating content. Like, I don't know if what they're telling me is actually factually true. And I haven't dug into it probably enough to say, hey, these are all the sources and run down the sources. So, but think about this kind of idea of narrative manipulation. And narrative manipulation is where you can create tons of content to influence a segment or a mass of population. So somebody started using AI to create a bunch of information that was false or very inaccurate, but it's not ever sourced, but it's out there everywhere. And everywhere you see, it seems like that's the same information over and over and over. Not only is that influencing and creating content that's just not correct today, but when future generations search for things of the past, that will become the truth because it's the most available resources and how all of it picks up. So if you don't have explainability, traceability, and fairness built in any model, be it for content, lending, or from customer service or whatever it'll be, you have a problem in the future because you won't know what's going to be real, correct, and
I mean, yeah, geez. Like when you start to think about this, like in theory, like I mean, the political arena is probably a place that you'll see this used a lot, right? But it will be like story created, bots go out and create a whole bunch of web pages and tweets and things around this story that may have been manufactured. Now there's all the evidence to kind of back up this story, right? And it can be done at really large scales, potentially.
Incredible speed. Too.
Yeah, like all of a sudden tomorrow, this thing that never happened before has all the proof out there socially and in the news articles and on the websites that it's real.
Well, exactly. So all the articles could be created and then referenced to others, to others, to others. And so the sourcing of it looks all legit. And it would take effort to go do it. Now, there'll be technologies that'll kind of counter about that. And there's already technologies now where if you publish AI content, there's a checker that says, hey, if AI can predict the next word with a certain level of certainty, it's probably AI written. Likely those kind of content pieces will be downgraded in the search engine, and the creativity and originality pieces that it didn't predict it quite correctly will come up as more original thought. So one, it'll sway both ways, but the big problems are probably bigger than we really get into today. But it's really cool stuff. Use it appropriately. Try not to influence whole nations on it quite yet.
So I mean, look, somebody's out there trying to do that, by the way, but. I guess maybe one of the reasons for government is to try to those things. It's reality. Like it, you were talking about the spectrum, Chad, of like on the one side you think the robots are coming. I think the other side of the spectrum is not the jet that's going to do everything for me. The other side of the spectrum is this shit's not going to impact anybody. Like this seems like shit that's way off in space. Like it's not, right? It's not.
No, it's not. It's here. I mean, the genie's out of the bottle, and it will continue to grow. Education is an interesting place where the professors, and that's a pretty laggard kind of a institution and very politically driven, right? They're already like, oh, they're using AI to write papers. And I'm thinking, so change your style of teaching. Let them. What did you learn from it? And so does it matter I wrote it or not? Maybe, maybe not. But did I learn what I was supposed to learn from the concepts of what I was writing on? That's probably ultimately more important. Because that genie's not going back in the bottle. AI writing is not going to go away. And so the next generation and the kids, 20-year-olds today's kids, that's all they're going to know is how to leverage that to be better writers. How do you keep creativity into an AI written or AI first world?
Yeah, remember they used to tell us, Chad, when we were in school, we weren't going to be able to walk around with a calculator all day. And they were totally full of shit because I have one of those things like in my hand 24 hours.
Yeah, you're right. It'll be interesting to see the first best-selling novel that comes out or whatever that then is revealed to have been AI written, that there actually wasn't an author behind it. Bob and I can geek out on this all day with you, yet I want to make sure we get into some stuff that some of our audience is like, okay, guys, fine, the robots are here, right? Whatever it is. And I want to go back to that statement I mentioned. It was the first thing I saw on your website when I looked at it, which is trust opens the door, relevance closes the deal. So there are ways to build trust, and we've talked about ways you can build trust and all that. What do you mean by that when you're talking about trust is going to open the door, but relevance closes the deal? And what do we need to take from that?
Yeah. So if I could back up to kind of how we approach lead generation. So marketing, no one would market anything if they got leads. Let's just say it that way. Like marketing is how you go find leads by creating inbound, outbound, brand aware, all these things. So if you back up to how we approach the problem, and what I think a lot of marketing departments and a lot of leaders are missing the point is there is no one single bullet approach. You have to have a multi-threaded kind of fuzzy logic approach to finding leads, and to do that, people will end up buying from you at the end of the day, or becoming a lead or a customer or revenue for your company when they know, like, and trust you. And for them to trust you, you're going to have to get them to get it right, but then you have to be relevant also. And so what I mean is they may trust 4 people, but the most relevant speaker content positioning will be the one that'll be like, hey, that's really, really closest to me of my problem today as a customer. And once you have relevance and you have the other things kind of loaded up with it behind it, you have your long-term customer, because you're going to understand that customer's problem and their needs, what you need to solve with it with your services. That's the step that I think is often missed, and where a lot of people are like, I get the proposal out and then I don't close it, or something like that, or someone gets in my cart and they haven't gotten that relevance piece. There's an element missing. And so there's some elegance behind how you do that and the consultative kind of approach to figure it out for your customers. And it's just a lot of work, and it's an ongoing, continuous improvement cycle to kind of figure out what relevance means to your current customer base.
Like, is that like, how do I go about discovering that? Is that literally like I do a panel with them and I bring 5 of them in and give them lunch and sit and ask them questions about what their pain points are? Like how do I understand how to make myself relevant to my customer?
Bob, I love a softball question. Thank you. Hire instantlyrelevant.com. That's instantlyrelevant.com.
He needs a job. We're thinking about making a change. So, sorry, Bob. You didn't know yet.
Instantlyrelevant.com did not sponsor this. It did not sponsor. That's right. Instantly. Here's how we do it. So we tell people how to go do your sales. I just know if you need to scale it, you are going to have to kind of outsource it at some point, because you'll be doing higher core activities that are higher valuable. So to become relevant, right, you really have to understand what it is, what market you're in, and what you're solving. Why would a customer come to your website or go to your LinkedIn profile? And when you're there, knowing who that customer should be, or that prospect, or however you want to call them, what is the problem they need to discover that you solve without you telling them without selling them? And how you do that is a lot of work. It's a lot of feedback. And it's okay, by the way, to ask a customer, why did you pick us? I do it all the time. And they usually say, your good looks, your amazing charm. I think you smell nice. Not always. Sometimes it's usually because, and I'll tell you what, because for us, we take a very consultative, agile approach with our customers and how we contract and how we interact. So even during the kind of, courting phase, I'm trying to assess if I even want them as a customer, because I have to understand how they think. And that's crazy to hear. Like, you shouldn't take every customer. Some people will be like, what? You shouldn't. Some of them are going to be way more work and not ever stay, and you're going to lose that opportunity to go somewhere else. So to become relevant to them, you have to understand them is the answer to that. And you have to understand yourself and what your offerings are. And to do that, if you can't, if you're in the weeds amongst the forest, you may need some outside help, or at least a mentor, someone to come in and look at your stuff objectively and say, is my brand title good? My brand, tagline good? Is my brand, explanation good, or description? Does like little things? Do the colors make sense? Am I taking someone on a journey when they meet me? And if you haven't done that work, you need to, because otherwise your relevance factor, if you will, it's just slowly getting chipped away. If we call it executive eminence, but when someone wants to thinking about buying from you, they go and check you out, and if you don't check out, they're gone. And so if your LinkedIn profile looks and then you're on Instagram but you're something else, and then like your company profile's all over the place, you're just losing relevant pieces to them. And so making sure that eminence is there across the whole piece is so important when you're not a big brand. And that's the first step, is just understanding your market and your customers' problems and what you are doing relevant to it.
It's so funny, Chad, like as Thomas is talking here, like I'm thinking back to our old IMSD days. And, we used to have people like as simple back then as go Google yourself. Like, tell me what you see on those first 10 results. Is there any continuity in there? Does who you are, emanate off of those pages and those first couple of results, which are probably the ones they're going to click on? Like today, it's even more vast, right? Like it's Instagram, it's LinkedIn, it's TikTok, even though I don't have a TikTok, but
it's okay.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. And you're right, Bob. We used to talk about being omnipresent, right? If I went on Facebook, if I went on LinkedIn, if I went on Twitter, all the different sites, am I getting multiple different people, or am I finding you, right? Just speaking in the different languages that come with the platforms. What's your take on it, Thomas? Which social media, if I were going to just pick one social media platform nowadays, which is the one?
Okay, so why would you be on social media anyway? And to start with the
attract clients. So I'll play along to attract clients.
So you want customers?
Yes, I want more listeners to the Win Make Give podcast.
Right. Okay. So where are your customers?
Well, they're everywhere. They're entrepreneurs. They're people who are
LinkedIn would be like, if we were to look at probably LinkedIn, we'd assume that many of our customers were on LinkedIn, let's say.
Sure.
So if you're on LinkedIn, and we're going to assume you have limited budget. If you have unlimited budget, be omnipresent, get the teams in place, and go blow it out everywhere. Of course.
Right. We have no budget. There's no budget.
Yeah, and you should have accounts. So the idea is have a primary and then secondary. If your primary social media platform is LinkedIn, you go 95% into LinkedIn and you repurpose all your content across other platforms, just so when they do Google you, you get every line of TikTok, Instagram, Alignable, fill in the blank, go on Twitter, all the way down. Now, you may not care about it and growing the presence of it because you're like, no, we really focus on LinkedIn, but you put it out there because now you've taken over page one. That's a strategy I would do. I would use like automated schedulers to do that, just to kind of repurpose the content on your secondary channels, not worry about it as much, especially if you're on limited budget. And if you're on super limited budget, don't care, go all in on LinkedIn and just get it right. Get that thing looking awesome. Make sure your personal profile is top notch, not salesy. It tells a story. There's a lot of, we can do 400 minutes on that just alone. And then your business page actually is there for the purposes that you check out. It looks good. It looks legit. It doesn't have to be, over the top, like, oh, I've put millions into it. Just make it really good as well and have a lead form of some sort. That's the most basic way to start. But then when you're in LinkedIn in particular, and this is how I went from like 8,000 or so people 2.5 years ago to 172,000 so following base, was, my teams do maybe 1,500 sales activities a week on my account, and that's commenting on other people's posts. So I do a little bit of we do a lot of content too, because when they check my profile back out, the profile is optimized and it's pretty clear what we do. We help generate leads for companies. They look at some of the content. It's around that. It all speaks to what I do and what I'm trying to, and there's other interesting little fun things that we have in my profile just to kind of drive my persona and our company culture forward with it. It's all intentional. That's what you have to do. You have to go give. If you can't do content, just comment endlessly on your prospects list. They will contact you back, especially if you're trying to say, hey, I love your show, or like, it just gives you all the warmth and vanity back outwards to make it. And that's how the social media networks work on all of them. Twitter, Instagram. If you're just pumping content, you're me, you're weeing all over people. Outside of a very small population, very few people like to get weed on.
I mean,
okay. Is there a platform we should stay off of, Tom?
You didn't see that coming, did you?
I did not. That's amazing.
We'll leave the jokes to me. All right. So,
yeah, but he's funny.
All right.
You don't bring me flowers.
Now, is there a platform that we should stay away from in today's world that doesn't bring the results the same as the other?
I don't think there's one you should stay away from. I think it really is going to depend on your business. If you're local, kind of a business, small business, go to Alignable, go to Nextdoor, go to something where you have a 30-mile radius of where your actual customers are. If you're national in nature, then yeah, you stay in LinkedIn or something bigger. If you're really just business B2B services, stay on LinkedIn. Don't probably need Instagram. If you're more visual, food, entertainment, it's definitely Instagram, TikTok. By the same content you put on LinkedIn and you put on Shorts for YouTube, or you put on whatever, will perform completely different, even if you put it native to the format it needs. So know that there are stylistic differences and all those other pieces that come with it. But I want to stay away from anyone. Just stay where your customers are and give them things that they actually care about. So you build that trust and relevance factor with them, and they will come to you in inbound. And they'll also help your ads. So that's the inbound strategy. So if you're doing the paid search strategy, then the inbound effect is only multiplied, because now they found you through a Google search and they've seen you already. You're going to be top of their list. You might be 5 down on the ad list, and they might be like, "Oh, I've seen that company on LinkedIn before." You're really helping bringing, honing it into your organization at that point.
Okay, so AI. Let's bring it back around. Like, how are you guys using AI? Then is it like in the content creation process? Is it more of that kind of behind the scenes thing where it's like, hey, okay, we have this one piece of content and now we have some bot that spits it out into 15 different formats so it can go on the different platforms? Or like, where is that technological leverage coming in?
Yeah, it's a common question. So I'm going to back up and just tell a real small. We used to be called Instarel.ai. We got awarded the trademark for it during the objection period. A company called Instagram took issue with this. So we were an AI first, like, hey, this is what we're doing. And Instagram said no. And so to avoid being sued in federal court for that or infringement on their trademark, they don't have. Anyway, I was like, no, not at the time. I was bitter would be a gentle word, but we just went to our tagline of instantly relevant, and it actually has been a better thing for our brand because it's more recognizable. It communicates better, and so thank you, Instagram. And we do tons of content for Instagram. So anyway, the point is, we used to lead with AI, this, and that, and though it's becoming more posh, if you will, no one cares how we get their content created. No one cares how we generate a lead for them. No one. What they care about is they get the lead. They care about the cost stay relatively good to value. They care that the content is and the performance of the teams are consistent, and their learning and they're being able to do higher volumes of things. That's what they care about. They care about, at the end of the day, the lead and the things that go with it, the value. So we pulled back. But I will tell you, behind the scenes, we use, if you were to get the amount of technology that we'd use across all the customers, it's around $2,000 a month, let's say, where we have in our videos, video note takers that I can take highlights from a click of a button, summarize the last 30 seconds, and take the video clip so it could become something that the team can see and focus on for content. We use translation services. We use things even like Grammarly, or like as simple as that, to every AI writing thing on the planet, which is all based on OpenAI. A few are based on open source, plus Chat GPT for other things. We'll use in the context of one of our customers was about to spend like $20,000 to go do a branding thing. And I'm like, give me 20 minutes with you. I used OpenAI's Playground and I had it write a tagline and a brand statement in 4 minutes. And I said, I think we're good enough. They're like, yeah, let's go. Great. Let's go make this landing page now. And so that's how I'm using it with customers, is to speed up the process, to get them to really, really, really good enough. Don't chase perfect. It doesn't exist. So using all those technologies, they're everywhere. And we're using them just you don't care. We just use them at the right moment and what we need to do. So, and that's the point. It's not black box to you, but you just honestly.
We're at one of our companies, we have a software company that, like if you have a software company with recurring revenue of any kind, like churn is a constant battle, right? And so we're in the process right now of using data to try to identify who is churning. But I don't feel like we're behind, but I feel like the companies that really figure this out will be like light years in front of the companies that don't, because we have a limited amount of resources. We've got people we can deploy at those clients that are on the verge of churning or canceling. But the sooner we can get the data and the AI in theory, right? But to the algorithms to show us who those people are more effectively and efficiently, like the sooner we can stem the churn.
And in that use case, that's a great use case for AI and a human in there. So for a SaaS company where it's touchless, the advantage can come in knowing that, hey, at 4 to 6 months, this is when that happens, regardless of fill it out all. It's like, and say it. So at 3 months and 30 days, right before they've gotten their notice for renewal, invite them to a live group session where we're going to go over some of the coolest features and some stuff that's going on, how to use it, some great business cases. And then now you're bringing them to people together around a SaaS. I'd bet you'd see half of them not leave because they just forgot about it. And the other half to go, oh man, I want to try that now. I just never really figured that out. And I think if you mix human elements or, very good messaging through marketing to them prior, that's also effective. But just taking something that's normally touchless and occasionally just throwing a touch point out there and getting to know your customers a little bit and rewarding them for it is the way to break that. And I don't think you need AI for that. I think you just got to see what the time frame is when people leave and do it, or do it every month. I don't know, but sometimes we overcomplicate things where an Excel sheet could do it for us, and or even just a
this is like just fresh in my head because we're doing this, and we were like, we had an Excel sheet, right? And we do that for a while, and then we're like, yeah, we got to get a little bit more efficient here because we've got 10 people working off an Excel sheet, right? So then we go build in the tool now, right? We got developers build the tool. I still feel like there's this potential kind of next step there where, like, because the machine learning to me is what maybe we're missing, right? It's like we're putting all the inputs in. We're not thinking of these things fast enough for that machine to go, you know what? Actually, you're missing this data point over here. This is actually why people cancel. We think it's these 3 reasons. I don't know. I'm fascinated by this stuff.
Like I said, Bob will geek out about this one. We got to keep this one to our audience's level of conversation.
Yeah, but here's why. Like, I really do think that AI is like this next like technological revolution. Like, I believe that. We had a guy on.
I was just thinking about the
guy on that was like the former, what was he? The Attorney General of the state of Nevada, and he's like on this. He's like, AI is going to take over the world if we don't regulate it and properly kind of think about it as it's emerging. And I don't necessarily disagree with them. I don't know, Thomas. Like, are you an if we don't regulate this thing properly, the robots will take over the world guy after having been in this for 10 years now?
I don't think it'll take over the world. I think actually AI eventually creates way more positions and opportunities than it ever takes away. There's a lot of mundane robotic type of jobs that are task oriented and repetitive that automation will certainly replace, and AI will help enable. But I think it ends up creating more opportunity just because it allows the human, I think, more time to be creative. So I think there's a technology's shown that in the past. It typically creates more work. I do think there's always I'm not one for regulation oversight of lots of things, but I do believe that these need to be considered and be responsible with it today, starting like as soon as possible. These things have been around since the 60s, right? And it's just the compute power and just it's coming together, and it's just going to accelerate.
Well, in the 60s, in theory, it would have generally been relegated to scientists and the military or something, right? And in theory, like, we'd hope that they are doing the right things, but as it becomes more just like accessible to random people on the internet who believe the earth is flat, like, I think that's where the problems start to come in.
The earth is not flat.
Wait, what? Whoa, Bob, boy, you're breaking news on the Win Make Give podcast.
Wait. Stop this AI crap. What?
Yeah, I thought you were just going to throw. That was a throwaway, Bob? No, I think that was pretty important.
That explains so much about how people live on the other side of the world. I mean, how do you get there? I had no idea that it was.
Yeah, so,
amazing. It would save travel time.
This stuff is into the hands of people that are easily manipulated.
It's like anything else. Like us peasant commoners of the world, right? We're like those. I don't mean it mean, but like the truth is, we're not the 1% of the 1%. Like, those are the ones you got to worry about how they're leveraging technology, and it's the same people who'd regulate are the ones who are going to abuse it. And so we get a benefit. Like, I don't care if there's cookies on there. So what? Sell me something. I mean, it's not.
That's my wife.
Where you're being influenced.
My wife and I believe that. Like, I'm like, who's offended that Facebook like serves me ads that I'm actually interested in? Like, people are actually offended by that. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe Facebook knows I like Jordans. What? Like, that's right. A thing.
But now,
another news break.
That in your feed because it's listening.
They are listening. I had somebody text me here jokingly, right? Earlier today, someone texted me. She said to me in a text, she said, my internal ADHD is really killing me. She just said that jokingly. And then 30 seconds later, she sends me a link from Facebook that says how to get more done when you have ADHD. Within like 30 seconds, showed up on her Facebook. She goes, it's creepy. They're listening. All right, Bob, I think you were referring to episode 29 from this season which was the millennial samurai, George Chanos,
Yeah.
I think was the gentleman who was, for anybody who wants to scroll back and hear that conversation. All right.
He was bringing it, man. He thinks the robots are coming.
Yes, he was the robots are taking over the world, and Hal has woken up. And
look, I love Thomas's perspective on it, though. That these technologies traditionally over the arc of time have looked like they were going to kill a bunch of jobs and ultimately led to more opportunities.
Correct. Now, Thomas,
it's opening the world to jobs. So our company, we use technology, labor arbitrage, and I can pick them more than just the few countries that had because of technology, not just AI. It's opening opportunities for people where they would have never had a shot to make some of the money they make right now because they're in Lagos, Africa, and they're trying to work in the U.S. but they can't. And so now I can just Zelle somebody, I can PayPal somebody to get the same work and even higher quality with more diversity into it than it would have cost me here in the U.S. So like certain job types shift different places. This is another form of it. Automation did that for the auto industry, right? It's like where can we get it built cheapest, and then we don't need human labor now. We just need where can we get the robotics cheap. It's the same thing over and over.
And we still have jobs. Like they're not the same jobs we had.
So I'm officially unemployed, I think, as we all are. So yeah.
Good point.
Okay, Thomas, here's where I want to take it for as we wrap this up. The website is instantlyrelevant.com. Take that title, right? Instantly relevant. Talk to our audience. You've talked about it, but talk to our audience. How do they go become instantly relevant tomorrow from after hearing this conversation with you? What are the top 2 or 3 things they need to do right away to be instantly relevant?
Yeah, and the names is fun because you never become instant relevant overnight. That's the reality of it.
Correct.
It takes consistency in it, but it takes a strategy and a focus. But wanting to become relevant begins with the idea that maybe there's something you don't know. So being open to the first tip would be just be open to the idea that you don't know everything. And even if you say you do or you think you do, just know that you have got to learn from those who've gone down the path of how to build the right kind of following on social media, if that's the path you need, and how to interact with them correctly to go build it. So to do it correctly, like there's a bunch of things you need to do, but I would say, first of all, know what it is. And I'm talking about businesses or entrepreneurs or solopreneurs specifically here, is know what it is you're solving and for what customer, and know your personas, your customers. So that's the biggest tip. Know them not like, hey, it's a CEO in the Southeast US and they have a mid-sized company and they're ready to buy soon and they have 100 employees. Know that CEO is a man with a mustache, lives on the south side of the street, loves cats, hates dogs, drinks Tito's vodka, has 1.2 million revenue and did 1.8, know the details so you can imagine what that human looks like, smells like, and you'll be able to be more relevant to them when you interact. Knowing that persona is one. The second is care about your personal brand image, your executive eminence. Make sure that you have a good presentation of yourself and your company across anywhere you're presenting that, either it be on a piece of paper to digital or wherever, and always represent it and keep your culture in mind. But you have to do that because when people check you out, they want to see what they get. So that's super important to kind of align your personal brand image, your executive eminence. And the third thing I would say is actually give a shit about your customers. Like really actually care. Don't look at them as numbers. Don't look at them as somebody I just need them for revenue, move on. Even if it's a SaaS play, actually care and find ways to interact with them to show it. And that could be, sending them a note that you actually write. Maybe it's sending them a t-shirt. I don't know, give them a call, like just refer someone into your network. Just do that. And because actually caring leads to kind of the last thing I'll leave as a bonus and as part of our strategy is give way more than you give to others, way more than you want to promote yourself on social media of all types. So that's commenting on other people's work sincerely and authentically. Don't say like, nice share, actually read it. There's actually some technologies you can use to help you read it and summarize it. And that'll cost you to learn how that. Actually read it and do a thoughtful comment, ask a question and follow up and actually try to get to know the people to some degree. And I know that's maybe more a little on the B2B side, but even on the B2C side, really, like the more SaaS play, get to interact, actually get out there with the leaders and the people of the world so they can see you in the light that you want to be seen, not the way you're telling them you're going to be seen.
I love that. I love the stuff you're sharing. Give, right? It's right in the title of the podcast, folks. Win, make, give. We believe in giving and giving back again and again. And whether that's going to be content, whether that's going to be donations, time, whatever that give represents to you, as Thomas is saying, it's give. All right. So folks, the website, instantlyrelevant.com. Make sure you check it out. Thomas, if they wanted to follow up with you, if they wanted to follow you, see the stuff, where should they go? How could they possibly connect with you directly?
Yeah, there's a few ways. One, I'll give you my phone number and you can text me. If you mention this thing, I'll actually give you a one-on-one strategy session and just learn about you. And that number is 314-954-6900. You can text me. If you call me, I won't pick up. I promise you this.
Wait, say it again, 314?
314-954-6900.
Now, is it really you?
It is.
Or is it going to be an AI on the other end answering my text?
I can prove it to you. Here's my phone. You can't see because we're on a podcast, but that would be me. And I will. I offer that. And if you mention the podcast, I will make sure you guys know about it, and I will take care of your viewer for doing that. The other way is just Calendly. Calendly.com/instantly relevant. That comes right to me. If you do a search online, LinkedIn at Thomas Helfrich, you can connect me on LinkedIn, and I'll reply to messages and just mention you. So I have a bunch of connections. I can, if they say it's your show, I'll kick out some dead connections and I'll bring them.
Yeah, get them out of here. Get them out of here.
There you go. All right, folks. So now you know it. You got the number. Scroll back if you need to hear that again. We made sure he repeated it for you. Make sure you give him a text. Make sure you tell him you're from the Win, Make, Give podcast network so that Thomas knows. He'll kick other people out. He'll bring you in. Thomas, on behalf of our audience, on behalf of Bob and myself, really want to thank you. This is Thomas El Conquistador Helfrich, who's been joined us here on the Win, Make, Give podcast today. Thomas, thanks so much.
Hey,
folks, remember, come on into the Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Win, Make, Give. Easy to find on Facebook. That's where a lot of our conversation happens after the podcast, because that's where we know you are, our audience. So that's where we have the conversation. Join us. Let us know your thoughts from Thomas. Let us know that you texted him and sent him off that message to be able to see what you can get from learning in a one-on-one opportunity with him. Make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget to leave a review if you've never done it. We love reading those. Those make our day better. Please don't use AI to do it. Be genuine about it. And until our next episode, as always, do good.